Oak Life Familia, what is good? It is Chris and Greg and Chris back at it again with another Roots and Branches. And today we're having a conversation around Black history. It is Black History Month, first day of it. So whoop whoop. But we're not going to do that conversation alone. We got a special guest, BSpokeIt the poet.
Yeah, look, I get crazy when the mic round. No sense of getting hyped now. But I'm
Brittany!
What's up?
What is up? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good to see both of y'all.
All right, so for those who don't know, BSpoke the poet, aka Brittany, aka sister, aka the Fam Bam, aka Oak Life's distant cousin, all the way from Georgia, is here for many reasons. If you spent any time with Oak Life, you're familiar with Lyrical Opposition. That is the organization that brought Brittany and OD the Wordsmith, aka me, together. Since then, what year was that? What year did you come to the Bay?
2015. Mm-hmm.
Man, seems like a lifetime ago.
Yes, it does.
Geez Louise. So yeah, 2015, Brittany came on the scene, blew us away with her poetic prowess, and stayed in our hearts because she's a beautiful person. So her and Andy are super tight. They're both plant ladies. If you know Andy, Andy's my partner. And yeah, Brittany's just been like holding us down as far as artistry is concerned in the Bay. But now you're home. You in Georgia.
We'll say I'm in Georgia. We're gosh, the term home is so interesting. That's the word you say when you don't want to say nothing bad, but you don't want to say nothing good, but you're not sure what to say.
Yeah, that's very corporate of you. Good job.
Trained well.
Right. So today, like I said in the intro, we're gonna honor Black History Month, having a conversation, jumping into it, talking about all that it is, with the special twist of our Christian perspective. So before we jump into that, I just want to hear a little bit about who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourselves, Brittany, if anything that I missed.
Yeah, so I'm Brittany. Go by BSpokeIt the poet. I'm a writer, a speaker, a plant lady, a project manager, and right now currently functioning professionally as an independent contractor for a couple of different organizations. So I do all the things, which means the B in my name stands for busy. So yeah, and I'm excited to be here. I love my Oak Life fam. And I am the distant cousin. I pop up at all the random things. I'm the one who shows up at the family reunion and sometimes every second Sunday, just depending on what's going on in life.
Yes. Brittany has performed at our art night, has been a part of a few LO takeovers, and has been a person who I've bounced ideas off of in regards to leading worship and stuff like that. So very instrumental in the background as well. So yeah, when we say cousin, and we mean that. That's family. Brittany always has been and always will be family. So this ain't nobody new here. Give us a high and a low for your life recently. I feel like there's a lot to pull from, given all that has been going on, but let us into your world a little bit.
All right, let me think about this. I'd say a high would definitely be my recent trip out to the Bay. It felt like, coming home after not being home for a long time. My low would probably be coming back to Georgia because it's like 30 degrees here and I just cannot deal. It's sad.
30 degrees. Chris, how do you do in cold weather? Do you do well in cold weather?
No, I don't. So here's the reason why the Bay was the perfect place for me. It sits in that natural air conditioned space. So it never gets like super cold, but it never gets like super hot either. Georgia has both of the extremes that I was not born to tolerate, cold or hot. So yeah.
And humid hot, right?
Humid hot. Yes. Mm-hmm. You can't take a shower in the summer because you're going to shower in your own sweat the moment you step outside. Not cool.
Yeah, no bueno. Yeah, I tell people the Bay Area is the promised land weather-wise. It's like, especially the East Bay, it's like average like 70 degrees throughout the year. I get that some people like variation, like you missed a fall or the snow or whatever, but I'm like, yeah, we can go visit that. I can drive to the snow or whatever. Hey, we got some comments already from somebody you may know, Alma. She's saying hello. Hey, Brittany.
Hi, Alma. What's up, Mama? Good to see you.
You're doing the spoken word at Oak Life, so welcome to that. And then just a side note, if you're watching this, we have a few people watching live, and we'll probably watch it later, but feel free to ask a question, say what's up, as we talk about some stuff.
Yep. Mama Alma always holding us down. Always holding us down with the comments. That's what's up. What's up? So keeping the conversation going, again, I brought you on, Brittany. I wanted to bounce some ideas off of you around just Black History Month as it pertains to church, right? So out to you, we had a pretty good conversation and just continuing to talk about our experiences as individuals who have held the title of Christian, held the title of artist, Black in America, and what has that experience been like? So before we get into Black history as a kind of a general topic, what has your experience been as an artist with the church?
You mean in general or in regards to Black History Month?
In general. Let's start in general.
Okay. It's funny because I feel like Black History Month and my overall experience with the church as an artist would probably be about the same thing. Undervalued and tokenized would probably be the two words I would use to explain both of those things.
Keep going. Say more.
Yeah. I feel like the church in general has underestimated exactly how important art is to I won't say the church, I'll say the message of Jesus, because that's what it really is about. Jesus was a storyteller, right? And so the art, artists, what we do, whatever your medium is, be it music, be it writing, be it poetry, visual art, you're a storyteller. You're doing something with your gift to tell a story in a way that people may not get it just sitting in a church listening to someone preach on a Sunday or on a Wednesday or whatever, or even reading the Bible. They could be reading the Bible and be like, I don't get this, but they could hear something in a song or hear something in a poem or see something in a piece of visual art that, what's the word I'm looking for? It transcends the logical mind and goes into the heart and the spirit in a way they can get it. I feel like the church has not done a good job of understanding how valuable those people are to the work of, the kingdom.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more. I've worked at churches, actually, some that I think you performed at, where art was like, it's like a step to whatever sermon communication they want to have, like the data point, and so it's like we want to use it, but only for like our purposes to advance our particular agenda, rather than like let the art just be the thing that speaks. And I mean, if I'm honest, like how many of us can remember that many sermons? But like when there's art shared, whether it's song or poetry or something, like those things stick, because like you said, it gets to our soul. So I agree with you. And your true words were those are deep. Those are good.
Yeah. Undervalued and tokenized. Very interesting. So you compared the two, your experience as an artist, as a Black artist, as it pertains to working with churches, because you've worked with many churches. We've worked with similar churches, so I know the experience firsthand as well. And you compared that to just Black history as a whole. So again, we were having a conversation offline about this. Kind of let us into that conversation. What has your perspective been on just Black History Month as it pertains to its use in America?
Yeah. I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying this. I hope that in 100 years, there won't necessarily be a need for Black History Month, because America will finally recognize that our history is not separate. I think the reason we need Black History Month is because America does not yet recognize our history as American history. Black writers, Black artists, Black scientists, Black, mathematicians, Black entrepreneurs, Black inventors, Black politicians, Black leaders, Black activists, people who have, taken the mantle of our forefathers and run with it to continue this fight for freedom, we only talk them up one time a year, once a month. Whereas all throughout the rest of the year, you're going to hear about, like in regular literature programs in school, they're going to talk about Emily Bronte, but they're not going to talk about Maya Angelou. You know what I mean? So I feel like until our history, Black history, Black people and our history and what we've gone through, and I'll say that goes for, every other race that's not white in America that gets these little catty-cornered references, until all of our history is recognized as what makes America what it is, then we got a lot of work to do, is what I'll say. But I absolutely love Black History Month. I feel like it's not even yet given the respect and due that it deserves. Because I say that because most schools, they'll talk about the same 10 people in Black History Month every year. Like they're the only 10 people who are Black who ever did anything, when there's like, the list is so long of Black people who have contributed to the way that we live our lives today that will never be talked about on a regular basis. So until we get to the point where we're not just catty cornering Black history into this one month and ignoring all the other, beautiful spaces that Black people have created, rescued, saved throughout history, and even currently speaking, because I think that's another thing to remember. Black history wasn't 60 years ago. Black history is now. It's being made like right now. We have Black people making history every day. And so until that is a regular topic of conversation and not just something, dedicated for a month, we got a lot of work to do.
Okay, so you use that word tokenized. As an artist, as a Black artist, how has that ever played out this month? Like, do you get more calls? Like, come like late January, churches are like, "Hey, this is coming up. Like, we got to get some Black folks on stage finally." Like, is that a lived experience for you?
It is, but I'll say this: churches have not ever come at me directly like that. But I'm a very intelligent human. I get it. And I've been doing this for a while, right? I get it. Of course, they can't come out and say that, but we all know what it is. So usually, I'm like usually the busiest during Black History Month, and Easter are my two and Christmas are my three busiest times of the year. As a poet and as an artist, mostly churches wanting, someone to represent. I have not, and this is the crazy part, I've never been called to a Black church to do anything for Black History Month, but I've been called to a lot of white churches to do things for Black History Month, and not even necessarily like a Black history poem or a Black history program, but like this is the month where it would look cool to have somebody Black show up. So this is the month where I would normally be doing a lot of stuff. Thankfully, there's been a lot of other things like festivals, shows, and other things. So that's not all I've been doing. But this year, I've actually decided not to work with churches. So I'm actually really enjoying that freedom and that kind of pressure off to be the representative. I made a conscious decision this year that I wasn't going to speak at any church for Martin Luther King Day, and no churches for Black History Month, unless they were churches that I already had a relationship with and knew that that our values aligned, which, made my booking go way down, but that's why I work 4 other jobs. It's not a big deal.
It's good.
Yeah, got to get your money more than one way. That's
multiple
for sure.
Streams of income. That's the way now.
have to multiple streams. No, that's good. That says a lot. So you've made a conscious decision not to join with churches that tend to tokenize and devalue you. Yet here you're rocking with Oak Life Church. So you said there's some values that you look for. What are those values that you look for, that you hold dear, that you also look for if you're going to do any type of partnership?
Yeah. That's a really good question. And I'm actually happy for the opportunity to make this distinction. Particularly in the last 4 years, it's not like the church has ever needed help ruining its reputation, but in the last 4 years, with everything that has gone on in this country, Christianity has more than I won't say that I realized, but I'll say that I've seen in my lifetime. Christianity has taken on this political bent, this party specification, this identity that when Jesus was walking the earth over 2,000 years ago, never, intended it to be. And so I feel like even my own identity and how I identify as a Christian has changed as a result, because I started to have conversations, in 2016, 2017 with people who were like, "Oh, you're a Christian? Aren't your people about to ruin the country?" And it was really rough trying to help people understand, like, no, there's a difference between just identifying, wearing this Christian badge and showing up at a Baptist church on a Sunday, dropping some money in the offering and going home, and actually like walking with Jesus. But unfortunately, what you see on the news media, what you hear people talking about more often is what's sticking in people's minds. And then when I started to really think about it and look at it and really examine a lot of even the churches that I was, in partnership with or working with or affiliated with and on all those ways, I'm like, this is not, y'all may not be out here waving a Trump flag, but you also don't align with what Jesus stood for, because you got this whole capitalistic thing going on here where you're more concerned with how many people are in the door than you are with the souls of the people in the door. And so I started to just reevaluate my association with churches and Christianity across the board. And a lot of stuff got dropped. A lot of people got cut. A lot of affiliations. I just completely I'm not doing this with you anymore. If you want to question my faith after this, that's fine. It's not going to hurt my feelings any, because we don't have to talk anymore. But one of the reasons, I say the biggest reason why I'm really happy to still be in partnership with Oak Life and you two, is because every single time I have visited you all, worked with you all, partnered with you all for anything, I have never felt anything less than the gospel at your church. And when I say the gospel, I mean the good news of Jesus. I mean the love of Jesus. I mean, hey, we don't care where you come from. We don't care what you believe. We don't care any of that stuff. We just want you to come in this space and feel welcomed, feel loved, feel accepted, and let Jesus do whatever he's going to do in your life. That's not up to us. It's up to us to make the space for you and Jesus to connect. And whatever happens in that space between you and Jesus is great, but it's your business. It's not our job to change you. And I feel like what I kept running into in churches was, they put on the mask of acceptance until they got you. And then, when it's time for you to be real and honest about yourself, there's all this it's almost like the same grace that brought you to Jesus is no longer acceptable for you anymore. So what I love about Oak Life is the grace that is constantly present. And it hasn't changed since the day I met y'all. It's been the same. And so that's why I'm like, but I will work with Oak Life for Black History Month.
Well, we don't have as much money as some of those laser light churches, though. Sorry about that. But in all honesty, good for you. Thinking critically about your faith and your commitment to community and where there are incongruencies with the values. So many people just go along with the show. And I think for most people, it's like, well, at the end of the day, maybe they don't ordain women, but I still like the worship and I connect to God there and I have friends there. I get the tension that people are in. But I think it's overdue for some kind of upheaval of these things, especially how the evangelical church has played out in the last 5, 6, 7 years. I wish more people asked those questions. What does my church actually think about racial justice? Do they care at all? Does their faith and I get why people wouldn't need to do that. Most people just they need a break on Sunday mornings and some encouragement or reminder that God loves them. The majority of churchgoers are going just passively like that. I get that. I have sympathy for that, but I think we got to get past that too and think critical, because there are real life consequences. The church has been so complicit in racial injustice and slavery and all the reasons we need a Black History Month. And so good for you for doing that. And I love the example, and it's super encouraging to hear your thoughts on Oak Life. I will say one thing, as people are in a process similar to yours that I always love hearing about, is the freedom they get to have to actually, you know what, I'm going to check out all these different styles of churches, and I don't have to do it this one way anymore. Do you feel like what is that like? Being able to say, I'm going to take a break from these things, or I'm going to like open up some more doors and do a different kind of journey. Is that scary? Is that freeing? Is that, what's it like? Does that question make sense?
It does. It does. It's actually incredibly freeing. And the reason it's freeing though is because I didn't just jump onto this journey. I've been on this journey of really exploring how to connect with God outside of the confines of, a church space for a while. A couple of years ago, I went through a really traumatic situation in church. And up until then, my whole relationship with God had been tied to church. And so I found myself in a position where, what I went through was so damaging that I was looking at God like, is this you? I need to know, because if this is you, me and you can't rock together. And thankfully, I have, had my own personal relationship with God through Jesus for a long time, long enough to know the character of the God that I follow. And so I found myself in a place where I'm like, I need to put some space between me and you, God, and us in church. And what I mean is like, I need to know how to separate the two. I need to know how to separate me and you and us in church, because if I keep linking you to church, anytime something bad happens in church, I'm going to look at you, and I can't look at you because this is not you. And so I actually didn't go to church for an entire year. On Sunday mornings, you would find me on the beach, or you would find me at a coffee shop, or you would find me in a park, journaling, meditating, praying, reading my Bible sometimes, like however I felt like I needed to connect with God that day. Or you would find me at the gym. If me and Jesus needed to run that day, that's what we would do. So for a whole year, and that, I'll be honest, that was actually a scary journey to embark on, because I'd never done it before. But I came out of that year understanding that, God wasn't confined to this space. I wasn't any less his child because I didn't go to this particular church on Sunday, or any church for that matter. I wasn't any less, a believer because I'd rather listen to the waves on Sunday morning than a worship team. So it's been a journey for me. And so now I'm in this place where I feel solid enough in my conviction about who I am, about who God is, about who he is to me, about my walk with Jesus, that I'm not afraid of, I'm not afraid of the judgments of people anymore. I used to be, when I'll tell people I don't go to church on Sunday, and they'll be like, are you really saved? And I can say now that I don't care. I had to really get to a place where I don't care what other people have to think or say, because ultimately what they have to think or say is not what God is saying about me.
That's
good.
Beautiful. That's a whole sermon right there. That's the differentiation between God and church. It's very saddening that is a reality. That type of discovery is necessary in our lives. I'm actually in a class right now. We're talking about suffering, and one particular student had mentioned that they are taking a course in I forgot what it was, but it was a supplementary course where the whole topic was around spiritual abuse,
Mm-hmm.
how much people use God's name to push their agenda, and the damage that does to individuals who are trying to establish a relationship with God.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to distinguish the difference between what a church should look like and what God's love looks like. But I mean, Jesus was out here correcting people abusing God's name since he was walking the earth. So it's probably a fight that we will always have, unfortunately. The fact that you have stepped into that fight and have not lost your relationship to God is commendable. Amen. Yes and amen. And what would be your hope? I know the whole conversation started with, our ideas around Black History Month and stuff like that, but I like where this conversation is going. What would your hope be for what the future looks like in regards to your relationship with God and your relationship with art?
In regards to my relationship with God, I just really, I feel like, even the Bible tells us that he's past finding out. Like, we're never going to ever get to the place where we know, everything about God. And I don't really want to know everything. What I want to make sure is that no matter where I am or what I'm doing or what place I find myself in. I want to make sure that I'm always in the place where I can hear the Lord speak to me, and then I can be obedient and act and respond the way he wants me to respond for the good of whoever needs it. You know what I mean? I tell people, it's like I'm a stubborn child, but I'm an obedient one. I want to constantly be in a place where my life is pleasing to God. And that's it. Not pleasing to church, not pleasing to tradition, not pleasing to other people's ideals of whatever they perceive God to be, but my life is pleasing to my Father. And that's it. It's really simple to me. I don't really have any really grandiose, aspirations in faith. I just want to live a life that is pleasing to the Lord. And from what I've experienced, a lot of what I was taught that's pleasing to God, it's pleasing to church. God doesn't really care so much about these things that church has taught me to care about. So the things that God really does care about, like when you see injustice, what are you doing? When you see the broken, what are you doing? When you see the hurting, what are you doing? When you look at yourself in the mirror, do you see somebody who is better, or do you see somebody who is, living by the goodness and the grace of God? And that really is what God cares about. When all this, wraps up and things, get all, the golden carriage turns into a pumpkin and everybody turns back into dust, God's not going to be sitting there asking, well, were you in church every Sunday? How much offering did you give? Where was your membership at? He's going to say, when I was hungry, did you feed me? When I was in prison, did you visit me? When I was naked, did you clothe me? Those are the things he's going to ask us. When I was hurting, when I could not fight for myself, did you fight for me? And I feel like that is the message that the church is so busy trying to be this corporate institution right now that is missing the very message that we are here for: justice, love, and the good news.
Bars. I got one more question, but Chris, you got any thoughts before I have my concluding question?
Amen. I want to keep the conversation going. But I mean, just like, yeah, that's it. Like, I wish we could do some sort of audit of church budgets, like nationally, especially evangelical churches, and just be like, where is this stuff going? Like, I mean, there's always critique of money and stuff, and it's complicated. And that's one of the areas like I'm most judgmental. Like I most like to talk trash about churches. Like, yeah, you spend all your money in smoke machines and laser lights. Like, you don't need that crap.
Mm.
It's yeah. Anyway,
so we're using it right now anyway.
Right. Totally.
That smoke machine is so dusty right now. Nobody's turned it on in a year.
Huh? Yeah, but you got to have that really cool lighting set up and that like great software and all that stuff. Because
hey, don't talk about tech. I have a heart for my tech.
I will gladly justify our minuscule. We bought like 2 apps.
I know we share a backdrop with a whole nother organization. Like,
but yeah, it's good, Brittany.
That's very good. Dang, you got me laughing. I forgot what my concluding point was, but no, yeah, I remember now. So as we embark on this this month, there's what we would hope the future for America's relationship with Black history is, which I think is beautifully captured in what your experience is, as what the church's relationship is with you as an artist, as to America's relationship with like Black history and Black culture. Very, very interesting parallels there. But as we step into this time, one of my hopes is that we can learn. We can learn from our history. As you stated, Black history is American history, and we are going through dark times right now. We have a history of an entire people that, for better or worse, made it out of a dark time, still fighting. The fight's not over, but there's so much life that has transpired because of it. You actually have a piece that you wrote about it. We're going to get insight to that on Sunday, so stay tuned. But before we jump too far ahead, some of the dangers of looking to Black culture or cultures outside of the majority culture is this idea of appropriation, is this idea of tokenization. And my hope is that we can look towards the Black narrative as far as history tells us as a way to inspire us. My fear is that we just continue to do more of the same. We continue to appropriate and tokenize. What would be some thoughts on how we step into, like, if you had a megaphone and you're talking to Black churches, or excuse me, you're talking to churches right now as to how they go through Black History Month, what's some like advice, steer clear of this, go this direction? Like, what would your thoughts be on that?
I would say, first off, if you're, I'm just gonna say, if you're a predominantly majority culture church, non-Black church, if you and your congregation have not done the work to understand culturally, racially, ethnically what Black people have gone through in this country, and not just understand it cerebrally, but really get it in your heart and your soul and understand the struggle, the fight, the challenges, the sadness, the brokenness. You'll never have the experience of seeing something traumatic and feeling it in your bones and not knowing that that trauma is 400 years old from your ancestors who experienced that on a daily basis. You won't have that. But if you haven't done the work to understand that Black people feel that way when we see people getting shot in the streets, that it's akin to watching a slave being whipped and hung and chased down by an overseer on a horse. That trauma lives in our bones. People aren't Black will never have to feel that. But if you don't understand that that is what Black people are going through when we relive that trauma in 2020, in years past, and you don't have a sense of justice for that, then I would say, you don't have a sense of justice and compassion from that, really like this holy, righteous fire to do something about it, then I would say you have not earned the right to honor Black History Month. If you're not doing that work, if a pastor and is not leading their congregation in that way, if a person in that congregation is not leading themselves in that way, if you're not really trying to understand, and not just so you can know, but so you can, especially as a believer, really do the work to make sure your heart and your life is aligned with Jesus Christ, you haven't earned the right. You haven't earned it. And I would say, as far as the culture goes, if you want the culture, but you don't want the people, you don't deserve the culture. Simply enough. Like, everybody knows Beyonce and want to rock to, all these different beats and all these things. But when it comes to Black lives, do you really care? Who are you in relationship with? Is the only proximity you have to Black culture what you see on entertainment? Because all of that is so lofty, it is not real. Those are real Black people, but they are also, doing their job as entertainers. Who are your friends? Who do you associate with? Who do you go to lunch with? When you go to church every Sunday, does everybody look like you? Even in your jobs, like if you go to your job and everybody looks like you, are you advocating for that to change? If you're not doing that work, then don't get super hype when you hear, a Black culture song on the radio. Don't get super hype when you hear like a Black spoken word poet drop bars. You haven't earned the right, is what I would say to that.
Yo, I appreciate that. People want the cake. They don't want to bake.
Come
on.
on.
The cake, you got to bake.
Come on.
Put in that work.
Put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Put in the work. And I get a lot of people are intimidated by it. And I'm like, you have a right to be intimidated by it. It's work. But it's not impossible. I am in community and friendship and relationship with some beautiful people in my life who are not perfect, but they recognize that they needed to change something in their lives, and they decided to go on a journey. Not like find a Black girl to interview and get her thoughts on these things, but I want to like intentionally build a family relationship with you. Come sit at our table. I invite you to my table. Let's get to know each other. And it has been an enriching and beautiful relationship for both me and my friends who are on this journey. And they aren't perfect and they got a ways to go. And it's okay. And in love, we talk about things that are hard. And it's okay. And we have missteps on both sides. It has gotten ugly a couple of times. But the foundation of the relationship wasn't, I just want to know, or, I just really think this stuff is so cool. Can you teach me? You know how many times I used to get, can you teach me how to be ghetto? I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. Sorry, darling.
Like that's a legit question.
It was a legit question. I used to get it all the time.
Oh man.
Especially here in the South, which is one reason I was really happy in California. But you know what I mean? Like really get to know someone from a different space. And then if you want to appreciate that culture, appreciate it. Appreciate it. Don't go learn the steps and then cast off the people. Keep the people in your life. Build solid, genuine relationships with Black people.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. There you go. Don't stop.
Yep. And just for the people that are watching, again, you didn't get any taste of it today, but in the poetry circles that I have tapped into, which is not all of them, but some of them, Brittany is top tier. I'm not even saying that 'cause she's family. Brittany is top tier. And I've had some conversations, how you break down entering the process of writing a piece. So good. That said, I'm very excited for this Sunday. Where can people find you? What type of where can they go on the interwebs to get some of your artistry?
Yeah, on the interwebs. So let me preface this by saying I'm a terrible millennial. I hate all things social media. In fact, if it was not for the fact that I was an artist and had to maintain some kind of interwebs presence for the sake of, my artistry, y'all wouldn't be able to find me. I will be underground and I will be happy about it. I mean, I'm not even kidding. But since I am an artist, you can find me on Instagram at BSpokeIt. That's BSpokeIt. You can also find me on, everything on my Instagram links to my Facebook. I think Twitter is toxic, so I don't mess with it. And I only watch TikTok videos, but I don't make them. So if you want to find me, find me on Instagram. I have a couple of new things that I'm working on this year, which will be linked to my at BSpokeIt Instagram page. So
sweet. Well, you got some love. Hey, Fran, preach.
Appreciate
BSpokeIt is amazing.
That's saying what's up.
Nice.
What's up, Say? Hey, friend.
See, I'm telling you, Brittany's family, cousins, those all the dope people. Well, I'm very excited. If you're a marketing guru and you want to put together your marketing skills behind an amazing artist who's a not very good millennial, but an amazing artist.
If you got TikTok, you're not as bad as you think you are. If you're just watching.
I have a website, so I'm doing okay. You can find me online at BSpokeItPoetry.com. So there's that.
There you go. Well, I very, 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 very much love and appreciate you, sis. Glad that you're on this thing. Glad that you're rocking with us. And not just today, but just in life. Because you're right. It's work to be in life with people. But there's beauty in it. There's a calling in it. And that's where we see the good news. So yes and amen to that. Any thoughts, Chris, before we get up out of here?
No, that's it. I don't know.
Awesome. Any closing words, Brittany? You got any closing words?
I am so looking forward to rocking with y'all on Sunday.
All right. Fun. Continue to live, love, fight, and follow as Jesus did and does, fam. And we will catch you when we catch you.
Talk to him. That's it.